So yeah, my name is Taj Hanson. I'm a landscape architect. I'm also urban designer, work as a senior associate at Walker Macy. We do landscape architecture, urban planning, and urban design. Also skateboarder of 30 years. I do want to note, Nick Pelster is also going to be co-presenting. The ideas I present are opinions of my own, so please don't direct any anger at Nick Pelster. You can come directly to me. And let's get the show going. So here we go again, right? Shout out expensive pants. I don't know if anyone saw this meme. I could probably stop the presentation here, but got plenty more to share. So this kind of sums up the first part of the talk in a way. All right, so welcome to Portland, everybody. Burnside. Burnside is a special place to me. I grew up skating Burnside. It's an iconic fixture of Portland skateboarding. It created a culture of its own, spread DIY worldwide. And it's a blessing and curse in my opinion. I think that it has set the stage for the gnarly skate park that we're also familiar with in the Pacific Northwest. The Army Corps era, we don't have a lot of examples of this in Portland, but the ironic part of this is I think some of it, after I go through this presentation, I think some of us might actually miss this. People, the Army Corps didn't do a good job of a lot of skate parks, but sometimes you find some gems in these places. So just rest in peace, Old St. John's Park. So Portland, like a lot of other cities, has a skate park system plan. This was launched in 2008. A lot of hard work by a lot of well-intentioned people to get skateboarding programming established in the city and kind of see this distribution of skate parks that are part of the system plan. So enter the world of domesticated skateboarding. Having a plan is kind of a blessing and curse. This is now where the city tells us that we are allowed to skate. This is where we should be when we skateboard. And what we end up with is kind of this extraction of skateboarding and separation into these rec facilities. So while we have these distributed skate parks kind of scattered throughout the city, this is kind of the model that that the city has adopted, right? We have an established park, there's recreation facilities. So this is Park Lane Park, a project I managed over the last 4 years, just opened. It's in outer southeast Portland. It's the largest park east of I-205 at 25 acres. Kind of has all the bells and whistles, picnic shelters, tennis courts, basketball courts, dog off leash area, playgrounds of different sorts, splash pad, and then the skate park is another kind of facility established within the park. So this is the model we've adopted to kind of move forward with skate park planning. So in the Pacific Northwest, we kind of have our big three, and I'm kind of intentionally said domination by the Holy Trinity because at times it feels like there's almost like a cult-like following and indoctrination into who the expert skate park designers are and who should be building these spaces. And so these three have kind of the majority share of the skate parks in our system. So you got Dreamland with their incredibly gnarly transitions, Grindline that has a little bit more of an incorporation of street skating with large bowls, and Evergreen with their kind of rolling pump track formula. So oftentimes, unfortunately, is what we end up with is high cost and little activity. Imagine being a kid trying to learn how to pop an ollie, and you come in and are faced with this monolith here. Good luck, right? I do want to kind of point out, this isn't going to be a presentation about design flaws. This one is particularly heartbreaking for me because I have a long love for Pacific City on the Oregon coast. But these small towns can often end up with a park that really doesn't, I would say, optimize its use. I've maybe seen a couple people get a photo in this crazy wave full pipe. Mostly I see kids sliding their butt down it, but that's a really expensive slide. You got pool coping isn't gnarly enough, so let's go with cobblestone coping. I appreciate the gesture for the dory boat. That's a big part of Pacific City culture, but that thing really isn't skatable and probably costs quite a bit of money. And then I would assume it's just an intentional middle finger to street skating to put vertical pool coping as your ledge option. Sometimes when we are provided concept options, it doesn't really feel like an option at all, and it can actually feel like you're doomed from the start before the project even gets built. So this is what we have, right? These are our Portland skate parks. And sorry if I offend anyone here. Placeless concrete monocultures, often void of any activity, rebaked recipes and regurgitated obstacle parks, development models that appear like scars on the landscape. these costly developments that fail to reflect the diverse cultural expression within the skateboarding community or offer any care for ecological systems. And the reality that skate park designers generally don't consider these larger issues, right? They're designers and builders of their style of obstacles, and they'll continue to repeat that style. And so I'm not saying that we shouldn't have a Dreamland Park or a Grindline Park or even an Evergreen Park. I'm just saying that we should diversify and come up with we should evolve, be creative, and come up with some new options, right? And so I would argue that skateboarding culture deserves better and that we can do better. Just to note that the momentum keeps going. So Steel Bridge is supposed to be the crown jewel. This has been getting a lot of political attention. It's an incredible site with a huge opportunity to reconnect Old Town Chinatown to the waterfront. It was, I think, an incredible opportunity for a true shared urban recreation plaza. And TBD, right? So Grindline did the concept design. You can see lots of big transitions. You can see overlooks where bystanders can shout in appreciation of the skateboarders below. There's even things that look like full pipes that turn into the overlooks, and maybe there'll be hopefully some incorporated street obstacles. But Grindline and Dreamland will be working on this on the skate park in the coming months. And then Bellingham, I just saw this. It's just another example of the trajectory, right? This is the way things go. Friends, we like to call that the cradle of filth, and a lot of other transitions to blow your mind, right? So I do want to talk about one outlier, as I call it, in our skate park system, Ed Benedict Skate Plaza. It's out on 102nd and Powell. This is a project that I managed the development of while at Portland Parks and Recreation back in 2007. And I would say it's special in terms of not being what I'm proposing, how we should approach every skate park, but at least it diversifies that system and brings a different type of terrain that I think people really have galvanized around over the decades. Funny enough, this was 15 years ago, and to date, nothing has been built that even matches, I would say, this degree of differentiation and kind of terrain offering. So a big goal with this project was the sustainable stormwater management and having kind of a philosophy of getting rainwater drainage back into the aquifer, recharging groundwater system, and kind of exhibiting that and incorporating it as part of the skate park experience. Big shout out to Dan Garland. He was the public artist that was hired on. So these ideas of kind of cutting the concrete out, removing it to create skate obstacles. His whole tread lightly theme was brilliant. But I would say that this brings something special to our system. Even though it's out on 102nd, it's still a highly used place that people have really come to love. So you can kind of see some of the terrain options here. Now, even with this project that was supposed to be street focused, we still had pool coping forced upon us, which is wild to me. I still have to laugh about this. So the goal with the transition piece, if you're familiar with the big O, was like, okay, they're forcing, we got to have transition. We're not going to be allowed to build a skate park without transition. Let's do kind of a big O, like portal entry. I was really hoping that it would be like a noping sort of like half pipe that you walk through as you enter the plaza. Maybe granite tile on top, but I swear to goodness, I don't know how the pool coping made it in there. I think it was someone in a ski mask came in at night and installed the pool coping. Yeah, so this project didn't just happen magically out of coincidence. There was a lot of pre-planning that went into this. So these are some initial sketches that I developed for the RFP. Working with Rod Botanic, who kind of became my mentor and a reason I got into landscape architecture. He was the project manager at Portland Parks, helping with the skate park system plan and some of these early skate park facilities. We collaborated together to really be strategic in how that RFP dropped. And it was not like your standard boilerplate skate park RFP, which means request for proposals. So that's what the city puts out as essentially a solicitation to get design consultants involved. So we put out that RFP. Funny enough, Dreamland, Grindline didn't go after it. New Line went after it. So we collaborated with New Line on the design while I was at Parks. And as you can see, kind of like the stormwater theme was successfully integrated into the project. So just keep that in mind. The RFP means a lot. It kind of actually means everything. How the city, when there's a lot of funding available, the RFP is really, how it's written is going to determine what the community gets. What's going on here? Let's get that out of there. All right, the other side of the coin. The best spots in the world were not designed for skateboarding. So you can see Harold Hunter here at the Brooklyn Banks. Probably most of you know the banks are back open, so I need to get a ticket to New York City ASAP. What I want to say is the design of public spaces and civic infrastructure has catalyzed improvisation. Shout out to Ted Barrow, Mike Barker, and others providing insight into the world of built environment professionals and the design of these infamous spots. But just remember this beautiful contradiction. The best spots in the world were not designed for skateboarding. The magic of street skating, right? So the intangible magic. I think of this as our intimate relationship with the city. We are activators of neglected urban spaces and creators of community. We're business patrons. The appropriation of space means we take ownership of our urban habitats. Man Hamad, in his amazing piece that was published in Skate Genre called On Skateboarding, Solidarity in Palestine, called street skating a political act, an act of resistance. I thought that was very powerful. Street skating gives us agency. And I want to argue that as much as we're into the tricks, the trickery, and the filming and the clips, that really that's the least important part of skateboarding. Skateboarding is more than the tricks. The congregating, the lurking, and the hanging out with friends is the most important part of what we do, and often the first thing to be ignored in skate park designs. All of us have skateboarding adjacent interests, hobbies, art, music, other forms of recreation. And while skateboarding sure is cool, the community building and social connections are the most important part of skateboarding. So I call this kind of the desire for the informality and going beyond the sport part of skateboarding. So I want to go through, we're in Portland, I want to go through a catalog of some of our infamous skate spots and kind of call out some of the things that worked well and I would say gave us a reason that we inhabited these spaces over decades and spent all of our youth lives growing up here, right? So Lincoln High School, rest in peace. I would say this was kind of the heart and soul of like our group and where we skated. And as you can see here, it's just the simplicity of it. We had a defined room. There's other spots to skate, but primarily this was the main spot. It was just the classic red, white ledges with simple benches facing it. We had our defined space. We had the view of the action and purely that. I think it's easy to want to get in front and make things, try to put too many eggs in the basket, but the simplicity here was paramount and what made this so great. So let's have a moment of silence for our ledge at Lincoln. All right. Magic 5, this is still here. It used to be a major bust, but it's kind of came back in COVID in full swing, and now it's kind of a half bust. But some special elements of this spot, really interesting building that provides some weather protection over a big portion of the plaza, raised up on this plinth, and then you see that the magical 5-stair that wraps. My assumption, Magic 5 came from the fact that the rumor that you could do any trick you want down that 5-stair. That's certainly not true for me, but the proportions are pretty spot on for a 5-stair. And then there's taller ledges that flank the north and south sides of the plaza and these smaller circular planters. So a lot of different ledge opportunities. If you're not barbecuing at the spot, what are you even doing? Turns out that barbecuing counts as skateboarding. And this spot also has the best flat ground in the city, so that white stone you see is super unique. And it's kind of an interesting context in the city, kind of perched over. You got the view advantage. You can see the interesting architecture beyond. Michael Graves' Christmas present building in the background on the upper right slide. A picture of Emil doing something wild, as he always does. But this is one of our go-to spots for good reason. Half circle. So I had to go back in time in Google Maps to get this photo. The amount of knobs that's come and gone on this project is significant. This is kind of our like downtown urban heart fountain spot. So it's very simple. You got a Lee Kelly sculpture there with a fountain. You got this simple stone bank that wraps it and this very simple granite sea ledge that goes around the periphery. There used to be flowers there. There used to be lawn. There was even a bench that they took out. I don't think it's in this photo. But the materiality of the site, and also it's kind of a shady refuge in the city, which is nice. But this is the state of it now. We still skate here, but there's these really intensive skate stoppers that hopefully they disappear someday. Looking to all of you. And you can kind of see the hostile architecture on the left, right? Skate stoppers paired with boulders as means of displacing houseless as well as skateboarders. Now, the ironic thing, you can also see they now filled in the fountain. So kind of I would say a disrespect to the public art. But the irony here is skateboarding now is one of the only things that's allowed. So you can skate here, but you can't sit here. So kind of interesting how things have changed, right? Eastside Waterfront, also known as Esplanade. I think a lot of you were there yesterday. I think the beauty of this spot is the proximity to the river, really, but tons of ledge configurations, different areas for gathering, different types of spots. Again, if you're not barbecuing at the spot, what are you even doing? Mike Freeman, I think we were in both those photos, shout out. And then we got all these different ledge configurations. So the gap ledges, et cetera, these are only skatable because skateboarders took it upon themselves to fix these spots and remove the hostile architecture, removing the knobs so that we could actually give some active use to this pretty defunct parking lot area. Definitely got to give props to Lawrence Halperin, and one of the most iconic landscape architects of all time. So Portland has the benefit of having the open space sequence, starting with Lovejoy, working your way down to Petty Grove and down to Four Courts Fountain, otherwise known as Ira Keller. These spaces are iconic and provide civic assets like no other. We'll talk about Silas's part later, but a lot of people don't skate here for good reason. Super rough, exposed aggregate concrete, but there is some options. And I just want to throw this one in here just because I rarely like public art, but this I do like this piece a lot, Peace Chant, and this is what we call the rock, but the park blocks is, in terms of context, are these green fingers of tree canopy that work their way north-south through downtown Portland. Super nice spot to hang out, and just so happens there's some great public art to skate there as well. Need to give also a big applaud to, there's been a wave of spot fixing lately. I'm not gonna say any names, you know who you are. Thank you. Thank you for your service. So we kind of covered traditional skate parks and we talked about street skating. So what I want to get into now is kind of what the in-between is. What are these other models of success that happen between? And some questions that come up from that, right? Noting that there's many valuable methods for creating spaces for skateboarding. But some questions could be, can a design space for skateboarding provide the alluring qualities of street skating experience? That's one question. Can the authenticity be fabricated? Can you encourage and facilitate appropriation of space? And the biggest question of them all, can you film there? So we are not in Bordeaux and Malmo. These are cities that I would say are more evolved on the European model of truly integrating skateboarding into public spaces. I don't expect that to be our reality. It's currently not our reality in the USA. So maybe someday, but that's not our current approach. We have other modes of getting spaces for skateboarding. The courts, so we are at Shattuck Annex. That new building you see being developed right behind us is where the courts lived until late last summer. Rest in peace. What I want to say about this, let's see. All we need sometimes is flat space. That's all we need, right? We do the rest. This was a university-supported skate program and was a testament to our basic needs. And I would say this mode and this model is often imitated, but never quite replicated. So what appears simple, as you can see from these images, actually took a lot of intentional community building work. And I want to invite Nick Pelster up here to talk about the great work he did on this project. Yeah.
Cool, thank you everybody for coming so much. It's really cool to have everyone here in like Shattuck Hall right outside of where the courts was and everything. So yeah, just want to say thank you so much, and thank you Taj for having me be a part of this talk too. It's really exciting. So yeah, the courts, it was a special place to like many people, and I think that like started almost like so naturally. I think that like I was just a skater there, like all of us just skating there when there was barely a few things in like early 2020, even 2019, the space was still empty. But we'll kind of go through some photos here that kind of show like some of the people and some of the things that really made this space like special that I think that often skate park designers in the city aren't thinking about, like starting with the people and really thinking about the people that are filling up these spaces. So kind of freestyling here, but speaking from the heart here. Okay. So yeah, so at first it was really about like skaters like taking up space, like really trying to not get kicked out, really like holding on to what we had. Like these are screenshots from the time. I was just noticing everybody was like sharing messaging, like even like calling it the courts before there's any official thing. Like you see Sivo's thing here really pointing to like keeping up the trash, really keeping it nice, because it's like PSU did not know what was going on at the courts. I know for us skateboarders, we're like, oh, we love this place. We're clearly having fun here. It's like they do not know what's going on and how much this means to us. So it's like people from like local pros sharing messages, like local homies in the community, like sharing like don't tag here for the ramps to say, sharing out to other communities that were using the space as like a artistic space to do, like pretty much people are like painting on all the walls. That was a big thing that PSU is really like saw like graffiti as a negative thing, when really all the pieces on the wall were all people that were in the space every day and spent so much time there and are awesome people and all our friends. So really with that messaging, it was like the messaging was all over the place. I really started the Instagram and started reaching out to PSU as really a thing to like centralize the messaging and kind of have a place that we can all like kind of like not have all these random things about what's going on and update people, and kind of have almost PSU and other people have it marketable in a way where it's acceptable for them. So I worked with a local artist, like Paris Fox, who was in the graphic arts program, and they made some branding for the courts that kind of helped me start the Instagram that even turned into a mural, and some of the graphic art students did a mural at the courts too. So really those things really changed opinions. I think it really helped us too in branding the courts and giving us really like an identity. And involving PSU students is a big part too, and really elevating that as I was a student, really like pursuing this, and teachers really helped me even pursue this journey. So as the pace like really started, it really was about like it being like cleaned, managed, and built by the people that were in the space. Like a big mentor to me was Terrence, who was working at Skate Like a Girl at the time. He really took it upon himself with his little wagon that he had with all his materials to really start cleaning up the space. He was trying to plan like meetups and do Skate Like a Girl meetups that were really changing opinions and showing that it wasn't just one kind of users in the space, and that it was really like diverse people and people learning, pros here, like all different people, high schoolers, middle schoolers. And then we see to the right a photo of Ben. They're building. And then we got a photo of George here cutting some of the knobs on the ground. So yeah, like before there was like pods in the place, and there we got a photo of Sierra. So all these small things, I know it looks like small things, but we were out there all the time doing these small little things to update this space, because it was just like really just left abandoned. But it's like we just showed like how we put love into these spaces and so much effort, and really with zero cost to the university too. I think that that's a special thing about this project, that people are like giving their own time and these resources to these things. So as time went on, and like now the courts has been a thing where everybody shares their clips. People would post people would tag me in clips every day at the courts. I'd be reposting them, archiving everything, trying to keep a record of everything. And I feel like that really helped like kind of like build the community, and really had like a shared kind of space to share out everything and share messaging through that. So I feel like the courts Instagram really kind of helps, and to this day has been a messaging point for even Portland skateboarding. I feel like that was something that was also missing, a central hub. We have so many skate shops and different things, but the courts became a place where every skate shop could have an event. We'd had skate shops collaborate together, other brands, other small brands do pop-ups. And yeah, I put this photo of P-Rod, a really exciting thing when he came through, and he even had a great experience and made a post. And that was a really exciting thing too, I was like, we need to highlight all this cool thing, and I think people really were feeling the love the spot had. So yeah, as time went on, just more programming. Skate Like a Girl was a big part of it. It became a space where people could like meet their idols, other pros and stuff like that. Like it just like the spot grew more and more. And then like, yeah, as I talked about, like Mural Day was a huge project that really like changed the opinions like at PSU about like how skateboarders can organize, really take a place seriously. We had over like 15 different artists, pro snowboarders, pro skateboarders, local PSU students, local artists, people that never painted a mural before, and all painted like that day. We built the new ramps. We got funding from like Skateparks and Skateparks at first to make some of the first like pretty much fixing up of the ramps and everything. So from that day on, I feel like the courts really changed, and people even at PSU and the administration really just like started to take us seriously. J. Muir mural, Portland Skate University. Yeah, so really like the attention kind of continued on, like, because we knew our time was limited in the space, kind of waiting for the new art building to come. We got the cover of the PSU Vanguard, which was really exciting, and then even Thrasher was even like in their caption saying like the famed courts. I think that even from skateboarding to even like PSU really like pretty much recognizing the importance of this space. Now this was a different model that really wasn't like seen before. And I think that also the courts was a huge thing for sharing resources. People would often drop off products and shoes there too. I think that that's something that I really was interested in, is just how this space became a place where people would get boards from people, meet other people for other resources. Even people started going to school even just by coming and going to the courts every day and just being on campus, maybe talking to another student and things like that too. It just became a huge resource sharing place. And then, yeah, like the courts then kind of became like almost like a fixture of the Portland skate community in a way where it was almost like it really, how I felt was like it held the identity of like what Portland skateboarding was. Because when you went to the courts, you could see many different types of people there, and people were making memes about it. The little things like courts was an inside job was really funny. That was just like written on the ground. Thought that was funny. It's the diversity of users in the space. People learn to skateboard here, and it also became a proving ground too for skating, and really people to like get footage at. We had brands do things here. We also worked with Microsoft. They filmed a commercial and gave us $1,000 to like build some new ramps too. So things like that, like just some funny opportunities that came through the courts and through skateboarding. And it became a space for people to do premieres. There is a local group like Payground that kind of came out of the courts. That was a huge like homie group of high schoolers and middle schoolers that literally grew and grew. This homie Banshee, like he is super awesome, and like he moved away and is still doing filming for bigger brands now, but he really started like filming at the courts and really was like locked in every day, got a whole friend group, and I know other people are here that are part of that group. And yeah, it was just really important. Like I thought it was so amazing how they did the premieres there at night, like almost in the rain with their cover. Just really beautiful to see, like, because we like, where else would you do this? We don't have spaces for these things. It's like it's like Portland needs a space like this, especially in the central city. We worked with the Shake Junk collab, had like Shane Hale come out. It was cool to like have kind of like the opportunity for local homies to skate with pros and see how things happen, see how like pretty much brands do things. And yeah, just to end on that, I think the courts was just a special place for many people, and it just like it's not about the ramps. It wasn't. It was about the murals in the sense of the people that did the murals, but it was really about like the community meetups, every single friendship you met there, like every single conversation, every time you just sat there for a few hours with your friend and maybe just watched other people skate. I feel like these photos really sum up like what the courts was and how it made an impact on many different people. Like there's probably people that I don't even know that have memories at the courts, or people that don't even know me. Like I think the spread of this space and how it was in the central city and really what we're missing here in Portland. And I know we're waiting for the Steel Bridge Park and things like that to be in this part of town. There's other things like Q-Side now, but just in the central city, like central business district, like we need a space like this for many people. So yeah, thank you, Taj, for letting me talk. So.
Yeah, thank you, Nick. We should probably get a tissue box around to the crowd. I know you guys are shedding tears. Sad. I mean, it's crazy. I think there's quite a number of people that I haven't seen since the last day of the courts last summer, which is, I think, a testament to that, the community building that happened there. So moving on. Sad day. All right. I do want to give a little mention of Da Vinci. This was, in some sense, a precursor to the courts. This is Da Vinci 5.0. I don't know how many iterations they've been, but I do want to point out a couple things that work really well at this space. You can see this lawn area that fronts kind of the skate area, so there's just a good spot to lay out. Pretty sure we barbecued this day too. You can see the nice shade tree giving you some refuge from the sun. The context there is nice. There's a community garden back there in the background, some basketball hoops. So it just works nicely. Now, it is worth mentioning that there's, my understanding, very limited collaboration with the middle school, with Da Vinci Middle School. So it's kind of a seasonal use spot. It comes in the summer and then they tear everything out for the school year. The simplicity of this spot, I think it's a good lesson. Do not over clutter the skate park, the spot, the whatever. There's a tendency to want to jam as much stuff in and you end up with failed models. So I think part of the success of this space is just this pure, perfect box, the best box I have ever skated. Preston Harper, thank you for building the best box I've ever skated. And then I think at this point, like the watermelon is burned in our brain. A lot of chatter about watermelons. You might even see some watermelons at the art show tonight, so keep your eyes peeled. Definitely need to mention DIY builds. I'm not going to get into DIY culture, but it's absolutely essential for skateboarding. The process of building together, asking for permission later is monumental. So keep up the good work, everyone. We got a couple images of some local ones down here, Creston DIY, which will be rest in peace soon enough with a new Portland Park skate park that'll take over. And then Feral Cat Cove, hopefully that can stick around. And then there's other creative models, obviously, throughout the world. Do want to talk about integrating spots because it's kind of a different menu option for our cocktail of skatable spaces. So I mentioned we just wrapped up Park Lane Park. It just opened. Kudos to Portland Parks for thinking outside of the proverbial skate park fence and allowing us to incorporate some very simple features into the larger system of public pathways to the park. So you can see here, we took that notion of the ubiquitous red curb that you see in the parking lot and kind of did some very simple embankments. I do have a little bit of heartbreak on some design detailing. I wish this curb was just a tiny bit taller to make it a little bit different from the other one, but we have our curb on steroids. I wish the curb on steroids was just a tiny bit shorter, but I would say it was a good success model, just to kind of proving proof of concept that you can do these kind of lower cost integrated features in a public park setting that work out really well. And what it seems like is these things are getting just as much, if not more, activity than the actual skate park. So you can kind of see, I think this guy also feels that the ledge is too high in the lower right. So another project I worked on quite a while ago when I was up in Seattle, this is Hazel Miller Spray Park in Edmonds. What was interesting about this was the seasonal use. So the project manager for Edmonds Parks had the foresight to understand that when the water's turned off, there wouldn't be a lot of activity there. So they let us just simply detail the features that we had already designed to be skatable. So you can see the infamous Kelly twins, Sean and Andy, skating these ledges up on the top, and then kind of what the water park program looks like below. Another project I worked on while up in Seattle, this is Kiwanis Metal Park out in Wenatchee, a really amazing community park serving an underrepresented Latino population out there. What we're able to do, you see the soccer field, there's a basketball court right there. We were able to incorporate some very simple features into that basketball court, a little curved ledge. I still have not been here, need to get out there ASAP, but there's a bank to ledge there in the background. We wanted to get another bank to ledge on the backside of the basketball hoop. I thought that would have been wise, so the basketball comes back to you when you miss your free throw, which I do. But yeah, this is kind of a good way to look at just simple features being incorporated into a recreation program. All right, the skate plaza. I'm not saying 50 Shades of Skate Plaza because hubbas are kinky. I'm saying because there's a gradient of success models here. So we already talked about Ed Benedict, kind of this street-focused terrain with the environmental, stormwater management-focused effort. But there's some incredible success models worldwide. Need to get back to Montreal as soon as possible. This is the newish Montreal Skate Plaza. I think the success here really is in the simplicity and kind of the successful integration of a skatable space into a tight urban condition. It's a pass-through space for pedestrians. It looks like they incorporated kind of a pavilion with stage. The activation of the edges with some planting and seating areas is successful. So, and also, of course, the material quality looks optimum. So you can just see, again, don't overdo it, right? Just keep it simple. Daniel Yabar's work, a lot in Spain, just as far as skate plazas go, these are some of the better ones I've seen. But there is this kind of fine line, like where does street skating stop and skate parks start? But these places sure do look fun, simple, good quality materials, integration of spaces into the urban context. But I do want to urge caution because quickly the street plaza can become essentially another version of the skate park, right? These replicated, kind of regurgitated models. So what I would argue is like, this is not what we're looking for here. Okay, so we kind of covered this broad kind of array of opportunities for skatable spaces, right? We talked about skate parks, we talked about street skating, and we kind of talked about all these models that fall in between those parallels, or I would say not parallels, other sides of the coin. What I want to introduce is kind of a new trajectory and something that I think we could, in a very positive way, diversify our skate park system. So this new trajectory, we should shift our thinking. We should start with placemaking, and we should co-create places the community is actually invested in. We need to stop leading with the obstacles, stop letting the expert skate park designers define what is best for the community. Landscape architecture, in simple terms, is the design of outdoor places for human inhabitation and ecological remediation. And a lot of times, landscape architects often serve as the role of a facilitator, so bringing the community together to create places that matter and become timeless civic assets. So what I'm arguing for is first, again, we can have the skate parks, we can have all these things, but what if we test this model where we first design a place that people actually want to inhabit? When you show up at a skate park, they often feel like hostile places. How can we make a place that you want to spend time at? So how do we start with the inhabitation and then weave in the skateboarding functionality? My argument is that the skateboarding obstacles are the easiest part of all this. It's creating the place that actually matters is the most important part. So going from a skate park and thinking about how can we create urban plazas as places for gathering, recreation, cultural connections, art, ecological remediation, and really remembering that the best spots in the world were not designed for skateboarding. So what you can see here is a place called Urban Triangle Park, absolutely terrible name, up in Seattle. This is a project I managed when I was working up there. But you can start to get a sense of how easy this could become a skate plaza or something of the sort. And in a similar vein, a project that I'm managing, Eugene Riverfront Plaza right on the Willamette River. This plaza is going to be opening here in the next month. But just getting a sense of what these places could look like, and weaving in the skateboarding again would be the easy part. So again, here's the skate parks that we have. This is kind of how we currently approach skate park developments, but why can't we have things that look more like this? So we have like some international projects here led by landscape architects with skateboarding that was either integrated during design or just embracing the skateboarding after. And what I would say is this is just, you can see the contrast between those previous skate park models. So I would say that these are richer public spaces that are created through broadening our design process to consider diverse public needs and enhancement of civic infrastructure. Then asking these questions, what if every feature has a function beyond skateboarding? If there were no skateboarders, would these developments still be an asset to the city? So landscape architects and placemaking. I'll just read this because I think it's important. So Project for Public Space is an incredible organization. Placemaking inspires people to collectively reimagine and reinvent public spaces as the heart of every community, strengthening the connection between people and the places they share. Placemaking refers to a collaborative process by which we can shape our public realm in order to maximize shared value. More than just promoting better urban design, placemaking facilitates creative patterns of use, paying particular attention to the physical, cultural, and social identities that define a place and support its ongoing evolution. So public engagement is huge, and I think oftentimes we really miss that opportunity. So typically, this is what we get when there's skate parks. We get the classic transition versus street debate. It seems like the transition skaters win that battle most times in the Pacific Northwest. But I think we really need to look at meaningful community engagement and changing that model of truly giving opportunity, really leveraging and amplifying inclusivity to create places that matter and co-create these places with the community. All right, so I want to go through a few principles that we can use, like through the co-creation process, that we should be considering in the design of these spaces. I had already talked about the open space sequence, forecourts, fountain, and Lovejoy. At a high level, they look perfect for skating. They're incredibly rough. There's no one quite like Silas, and this is him doing his own version of improvisational dance down a set of stairs for his open sequence part. So definitely check that out, because I would say it's one of the best pieces of skate media to come out of the Pacific Northwest, and a true commemoration of Lawrence Halperin and Angela Dodongieva, and testament to the design and how we can improvise in these spaces. But it's always worth remembering that we should be thinking about context, concept, and the sense of place. Like, what is the poetry of these spaces? How does it tie into the city? And how does it kind of create discovery and wonder? So it's really about the artistry of design. Comfort and sociability. When you show up to a skate park, oftentimes you get there and you're faced with a full pipe, a cradle, a half pipe that's 13 feet deep. How can we create places that just feel comfortable to hang out at? Just as simple as providing gathering areas, places to sit, throw your backpack, somewhere that you can get weather protection, shade, refuge from the sun, weather protection from the rain, comfortable places to sit, throw your backpack, have a Capri Sun after you're done skating. Layered programming for diverse uses. So the more diverse uses, the better, in my opinion. Complementary recreation programs are easy to find. So this is all about maximizing activity and kind of negotiating the public space together. Multi-use spaces facilitate participation in the urban theater. So here's some successful projects. This one on the right is in Copenhagen. I was just blown away. It's small space, but there was like 50 different things going on there. There was rock climbing walls on the wall. There was people doing graffiti on the walls. There's skateboarding wrapped around with these like angular kind of artistic bank elements. There's families picnicking on the steps. There's basketball. Why can't we have this sort of energy in our skate spaces? Material quality matters. I think this goes without saying, but let's say materials matter to skateboarders probably more than most people that kind of spend time in public spaces. Materials can tell a story and help create an experience, and not every surface needs to be float finished concrete, which is actually, I think, my most despised flat ground surface now is skate park flat ground. We should really leverage our ability to maximize creativity, and we can think of art as site design. So we got some examples of like Osamu Noguchi here on the left, his brilliant ideas for sculptural playgrounds. We got Burley Marks, who took his paintings and translated them into landscape design. Why can't we approach skate park designs more like this? And then easier is just incorporating individual pieces of art into skate parks. So this is another opportunity we have. Again, Ed Benedict shown with Dan Garland's artwork there in the top right, but plenty of opportunity to have skatable artwork in these spaces. I think flexibility and giving people opportunities to really take ownership of the spaces through either providing space to bring their own objects, providing art opportunities like Nick was talking about, maybe even having flexible arrangements of things that can be moved, shifted to kind of refresh the environment. This is a big one, say yes to nature. Welcome to 2025, we are burning. So like what can we do to kind of stop, to at least help mitigate climate change as much as we can? How can we think of stormwater management, getting water back into the ground, urban habitat, reducing urban heat island effects, all for the greater good and creating more humane spaces to inhabit. And then again, a gentle reminder that less can be more. We don't need multi-million-dollar budgets to create a skate park. Sometimes a simple ledge is all you need. Good flat ground is obviously critical. So this is generally what I'm proposing. This is the new model, going from skate park to community hub, formal to informal, separated to integrated, singular to diverse, hard to soft, and sterile to rich. So I want to go through just a few projects that I think start to incorporate some of these philosophies. This is a project worked on up in Seattle for interim CDA in the Chinatown International District. This is currently a rather dangerous, sketchy underpass area on Jackson Street. The community really galvanized around the idea of transforming this area into a shared urban plaza space with different types of active recreation. So you can kind of get a sense of what this space could look like. Looking at different types of recreation, everything from basketball to badminton, kind of kung fu inspired play objects. But you can see how this space could be choreographed into a sequence of kind of rooms, and then thinking about how skateboarding, they wanted a stage there, but obviously a stage can have multiple uses. So this is what it might look like with the I-5 bridge taken off right there. You can kind of see the sequence here. Another recent project happening, Ashley Reffield out with her planning effort on Sunset Dunes. This was just a quick idea to help with her conversations with the city. She had access to this material yard with these incredible pieces of stone. They have a shoestring budget, like always. So the idea here was, why don't we just do simple resurfacing, get a smooth pavement finish, play with some artistic paint job to get kind of a nice colorful vibe going down there on the beach, and then just really leverage those pieces of stone to create a unique sculpture garden. So very simple, it's all about restraint, but this idea of just a simple kind of stone Lego piece sculpture garden on the beach. So they ended up doing permanent built features, which from what I've heard is causing some problems with the naysayers on this project. So something to keep in mind, having movable objects can be a good thing. All right, here we go, Courts 2.0. Nick, why don't you come back up? Yeah.
Okay, so we're here to do a pretty special announcement. So we're actually moving forward with the courts like 2.0 now. We have received a grant from Prosper Port. Yeah, it's really exciting. So last year we received a $300,000 grant from Prosper Portland, a like community livability grant, which was the first of its kind for this TIF district in this part of downtown here. So that really, so this is the space here. This is 4th and Lincoln. This is like 2 blocks, almost like 3 blocks down there, like right next to the Domino's, like behind the old art building, which that's what the old art building, that red building right there, is being replaced by the building that's at the courts now. But there's that 4th and Lincoln. It's about probably half as big. Probably about. We haven't figured it out. Yeah, we haven't figured it out. It's probably half as big as the courts lot, but it's a really, really interesting space. But as it is not skatable as it is right now. But yeah, so this is a partnership between PSU, Prosper Portland, Walker Macy, Concrete Collective, and then it's supported by like Push Movement and Skaters for Portland Skate Park. So this is a big collaboration between many different nonprofits, partners, businesses, like administration. So yeah, we've been working on this for the last like 3 years, had to jump through a lot of hoops with insurance, we have an 18-page agreement with PSU we worked on for like a year and a half, had meetings, but Taj will talk more like kind of about the process. But yeah, I've been working with Taj and like learned a lot through this process with him. But yeah, like thank everybody for hanging in there and waiting for the updates and everything. But yeah, I have some really exciting things that Taj will share now too, so.
Yeah, why don't you stay here. Yeah, super exciting, and also exciting for me to be 12 years now into professional landscape architecture and starting to have the opportunity. I feel so blessed to like wrap active recreation skateboarding into my projects is amazing. So incredible opportunity, incredible partnerships. Not that incredible of a space when you look at it here. Pretty rugged, gnarly asphalt, not skatable. The grade change is actually significant. It looks kind of flat here, but it's really not. Steep sloping going from 4th Avenue up towards the old art building. So not skatable in its current form. So there's a lot of work to be done. This was like an initial concept drawing for this space. This is at least a year ago and was drafted up. And this is, the idea of bringing in some tree canopy, but the whole concept with the courts, and again, it comes down to the design restraint, is not polluting it with too much stuff. Like the community, the objects are gonna fill in. We just need like the scaffolding to provide the venue for the courts community and that kind of physical manifestation to come back. But because of the grade change, we need to address the coming kind of up to the top of plan here. We have this notion of seat steps, again, providing gathering area, providing a place to just sit and chill and watch the action. Also, in a perfect world, would be getting planting and trees and having that kind of urban, tree habitat in here, canopy, shade refuge, all that good stuff. We also had an idea of a big shelter with half-court basketball. We are on a shoestring budget for this. As Nick said, a $300,000 grant is not a lot of money to redevelop a site. So we're not able to do the planting and that kind of stuff, but this is what kind of the initial visualization was with this shelter. But the design has been changed and I would say optimized for what we're doing. So this is the current plan that we're moving forward with. Extremely simple. So like really the whole concept is we have this sloping kind of asphalt parking lot. We just need to bring that down to create as much flat space as possible for the courts to kind of fill in. But what the nice thing is thinking through the design process, every move that was made here was not necessarily made for the skate obstacles. The first thing is flatten out the site. And what you can see kind of wrapping the top right corner there is the notion of asphalt bank that's going to come up to the existing wall. So there's going to be kind of like a bank to curb feature, bank to wall ride that are out of necessity of flattening out the site. The seat steps, obviously we need a place to congregate and gather. Also, it's a great space for when Nick has his events that people could sit there for video premieres, all that good stuff. But simple skatable ledges, kind of that angular form is an homage to Lawrence Halperin and nearby Lovejoy Fountain. But every feature here was kind of designed just to create a space that, again, functions as the new home of Courts 2.0. It wasn't about these objects, it was about creating the space for the community to fill back in. Hopefully we can get a basketball hoop in there. Ball is life, so let's make that happen. But there's also gonna be plenty of opportunities for art, so just the idea that maybe we initially paint the ledges to give a little extra layer of protection. And there's gonna be plenty of, as Nick will say, plenty of opportunities for some fundraising and kind of up in the ante a little bit with this space. But you can see kind of, again, what the current condition is and what it hopefully will look like here soon. I think that's it. Well, that's not it. This is the most important part, right? We're talking about a space, we're talking about community filling in, but like this is the whole point. It's just back to the community. So as much as the design process matters, it's all for this. I would say that's like the point we really want to drive home. It's so excited to see some familiar faces at Courts 2.0. That's it. Oh, yeah. I will mention just to bring you guys into a little bit of the design process. So Nick just reminded me. So nothing is simple with the city of Portland. Even though all we're doing is kind of resurfacing and building these seat steps, there's a whole lot of hoops to jump through. So Nick and I have been working steadfast on navigating that. A lot of like pre-planning meetings with city planners, urban forestry, BES was the big one. They're the ones that kind of manage stormwater in the city. So there's always a process behind this, but we feel like we've crossed our T's and dotted our I's. BES really, I would say, it was kind of surprising, came out of their shell and kind of really recognized the benefit that this project will bring to downtown Portland and helping kind of bring some life back into the city. So they were able to kind of sidestep some of their normal stormwater management requirements and kind of give us a blessing to move forward with this. So thank you, James Hyatt at BES. But yeah, all the city planners, all those conversations were absolutely instrumental. So as of now, we've yesterday submitted for site development permit. So everybody cross your fingers, and yeah, hopefully we have more good news for you in the future.
Awesome. That was fucking epic. We have time for probably 2 questions. Let's see. You asked a question in the first one. Let's get another one. All right. I saw your hand go up. There you go.
Taj, I was going to ask you, what do you think about, like, there's a lot of talk about, like, urban skate plazas and community hubs and stuff, but, like, transit, like, if you're a skater and you want to get to a park, I feel like the issue with a lot of, like, bigger parks and when people want to use a whole bunch of land is, like, you are kind of way out in the boonies and it's harder for people to get there, which means the community, I feel like, just isn't there. So I feel like that's also kind of the benefit with, like, the courts and stuff is you're right next to all the trains, the student housing, apartments and stuff. Like, there's just so many people who live around down here and can get around here. So I don't know, I guess it's not really like a question, but just like something that I was thinking about during that presentation.
Yeah, I think very good point. It's location, right? I mean, I think Nick spoke to this, that like having the first version of the courts really exhibited the power of having that like central heart of a place that's like a shared third place in downtown Portland. And that's what we're excited to bring back with the Courts 2.0. To your point, and I kind of brought that up at the front end of the presentation, that Portland Parks model is to kind of distribute skate parks. And I think that is important because there's people in the outer east side that don't make it to downtown much. So it's like it's just all about distribution. But to your point, like we need central spaces in the core urban area. Steel Bridge is hopefully going to help accomplish that. I think the concern there is like, are we just going to get another standard Dreamland, Grindline, X Games level facility skate park? Or are we going to have a true shared plaza that can really become that third place that we all just want to spend time at and hang out with each other at? But to your point, hopefully the Courts 2.0 helps fill that void and give an essential space. Thanks for the comment and question.
Cool. We got one over here. And we'll leave room for more than 2. This is an interesting topic.
Hi. When presenting ideas like these to my own local government, it kind of stopped at them being worried about the liability of normal people passing through these spaces and skateboarders maybe running into them and something like that. What exactly, do you propose to local governments when they're concerned with that type of thing when you're trying to get these things to move forward?
Yeah, that's a great question. Every person's different. I feel like American society, we're so like fear-based and, liability focus and insurance and all these things. I mean, it's proven like shared spaces work. I mean, they just do. You go international and it's like, you don't have these problems. But I think it's more about just educating. Even I would say Portland Parks, like with Park Lane and just getting those like bank features in the shared pathways. So it's like people are starting to open up to that. Skateboarders aren't, villains. Like we're people that just want to hang out with other people, be nice. Maybe see Mike nodding his head. So I think the reality is like, I think there's a benefit actually to getting out of this mentality of having to segregate skateboarding into a fenced off area and having shared space and having that simple negotiation. Wait for the person to walk with their baby carriage. It's just common sense. And I would say it's a testament to like truly what democratic spaces should be: shared negotiation, communication, co-inhabitants of spaces. But I think it's just about educating and just trying to like reduce the fear thinking that controls a lot of that thought. And I think we're making progress, with things like with Park Lane. But there's also simple design solutions where just by changing the surfacing a bit, you can give a safe place for grandma, grandpa to sit while their kids skate or whatever. So there's just like also simple design solutions that can help alleviate any sort of tension or conflict in uses. But great question.
And I think to also go off that with like PSU, that was a huge thing. Like a couple months ago, it was pretty much going to ruin the whole project because they were telling like the lawyers here are really scared about this project. And they're like, you need $2 million of insurance. You need $2 million of auto insurance if you guys ever bring a car anywhere near there or something. So, and I was trying to even look for that, and there's nobody that would have insured a public open space like that didn't have a gate or somebody operating it. So over months of talks with the lawyers and getting them to understand that we use like an Oregon like liability cause for public spaces where you just like skate at your own risk in like a public park or space. So that's what we're using in like our legal, like pretty much like binding document with PSU. There's like an 18-page document, talks about everything, maintenance, like who's in charge of everything. With the courts, it was just an agreement between Nicholas Pelster, like myself, and PSU, which it can't be like that. It's like through Skaters Report and Skate Parks, a nonprofit, and then it's a 18-page signed document with the lawyers that went over for months. So that was a really big hassle that I feel like what a lot of you're saying is like changing people's opinions, telling them it's not really like that. And it was just a case study too with the courts. Nobody ever sued. There was no insurance or anything. They were just dodging that question because even PSU was wondering that, and like nobody got hurt, nobody sued. Skateboarding is not like that. That's like a common old fear, I think, too, that we're trying to change opinions on. But there is real clauses and legal things that lawyers will be like, okay, that's good enough for me. Or it was really a decision for PSU to take it on legally, and they were like, okay, because they see the value in this. So that was a really big hoop we jumped through that's really cool precedent to set, too. So, yeah. Whoever wants to go.
So I kind of want to like go along that kind of same idea of talking about the city and stuff. So I just want to first ask, how many people here don't skate? Can I just see a raise of hands and are maybe active in like the city work or any city planning? So there's like less than 5 people that raise their hands. So I think as a community, it's important for us as skateboarders that we all showed up here and we can talk about this, to actually go out into the community and educate the people that don't skateboard into these conversations and these thoughts that we have, because this is a really awesome discussion that we're having, but you know, not many people are hearing it outside of skateboarders' ears. So we don't have the luxury of being landscape architects. So we need to like take our skill sets and bring it to the places that are important for those things to be heard. So, you know, get involved in your local community, you know, talk to people at your work, go to meetings. That's really important. Go to like city planning meetings. They're trying to redevelop the park blocks loop, and there's surveys out there. You guys can participate in surveys. There's a lot of ways you can get involved to like kind of share your perspectives and your skill sets to kind of go along with that. So
Yeah, like thank you for that. Seriously, thank you.
I'll come to you really quick.
Thank you. So a lot of the photos I saw, like of the plazas that were in Europe, specifically in Copenhagen, all of them being in Copenhagen, actually. It was a corner photo, and it was like a little skate track. I was there literally like a month ago, and that's turned into a whole public facility that's like 100 food carts, rock climbing gym, like full outdoor recreation area, outdoor rock climbing, multiple levels of a skate park. But it's like, you know, then also a venue, and then like just all this different stuff that's like encapsulated to one little area. Yeah. And Malmo as well, with like, you know, the whole Love Park project and everything. And then Malmo also has 2 other plazas with ledges from Love that are there, or not necessarily Love, but like City Hall or wherever in Philadelphia. And then Copenhagen Red Square and the other parks that were shown, those were like pre-existing, just like slabs of concrete that were just kind of there for kids to like play basketball or ride around on. And from what I gathered in Malmo and Copenhagen was so much DIY stuff was happening, and the city saw like the positive impact that the skate community was bringing with like economy and this, that, and the other. So maybe if like we continue doing the DIY stuff that we're doing, it will open the door to them seeing like the potential of creating these smaller skate spaces. Because I mean, we have these skate dots all over the city, and like no disrespect to Evergreen or any of these parks, but I think most of us are kind of over them a little bit. And you know, marble curbs and marble ledges go really far. And it's I was in Rotterdam and Amsterdam as well, and those 2 places have these small areas at pre-existing parks with just marble curbs. And again, it's like the $700 ledge and this, that, or like the multi-million-dollar thing. And it's, I guess what I've just it's not really a question, it's just a point, but like I think the more DIY stuff, or just like as the city sees like what's the word I'm looking for, the positive impact that skating just has in general, and like the courts 2.0 and stuff like that, will probably start to get more say or whatever in building these smaller locations, or like building just like a slappy spot, instead of like going to Kellogg's every day and being a nuisance at the school.
Yeah.
But not really a question, just kind of a point.
No, I think it's a good observation. That's what we're trying to do with Courts 2.0 is like we need these precedents, and like the Courts, the first edition was like a very important model that we can point to as a success model. And I think Nick, you said this the other night when we were talking, is like, there's been these eras, like if you zoom out at a geological scale of how like skateboarding is perceived in a city, and it's like we used to be like the problem children, and now we're like the most desired of the undesirables, and like now we're like being used as tools to like save cities from, large scale capitalism failing, drug epidemics, all the things. But I think we're at a really crucial pivot point where we can finally evolve past the same old skate park of the last 2 decades. And that's what I'm arguing for, is like there's just like room for, like, as you're saying, diversifying. And, we went from the Army Corps era to like the Dreamland gnarly skate park era. Now we're like at this forefront, and I think that's what we're really excited about with like the courts and these like models of success. So agreed, we just got to keep it moving and just keep like to Ari's point, like show up, stay involved, push for this stuff if you care about it, because oftentimes the loudest, it's the squeaky wheel gets the grease, like the loudest voice in the room gets the results, and that typically has been these large bowls, lots of pool coping. We need a clause that for every lineal foot of pool coping, you get a lineal foot of marble, right? So let's start a new petition.
Do questions until like 12. Oh.
Yeah.
Art for Courts 2.0. Do you guys have permission to do art on the ground? I've done public art projects where you have to use like the road paint, where you have to like heat it, so it's like super permanent. Like, do you guys have permits for that, or is that like a no-go?
Yeah, I mean, I think we're still at the very like infancy stages of the art planning, but yeah, it's like, I mean, I see that space as like, we don't have as much wall room as we did at the first part of the courts, but let's use the horizontal plane. I really don't want to I think it's not ideal to use that like heat transfer paint, because it's actually kind of rough, like the stuff they use for bike lanes or crosswalks. I think it's fine, just do simple paint. Like Lincoln High School, for instance, had paint, and it's just layers of paint will come and go. We can keep refreshing the art, but I don't know if you have any thoughts on the art.
Yeah, like I think like we haven't really thought about anything like that yet, but we're totally like inside of like the document, like we're in charge of all the art in the space, managing those things and everything too. But I think that's something too, and like we got this building permit and everything too, and we want to do like additional fundraising for like some simple ramps and art and things like that too. That's going to be a thing that we're kind of working on in the next couple of months, if that's kind of part public fundraising or reaching out to some of our partners and sponsors too, because we've really never done public fundraising in that way for art, but really be transparent about everything going back into it. Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
If anyone has more questions, come holler at me. I'm around all weekend. Would love to talk to you. I don't know if we got any more time.
We got time for one more.
I'll stick around.
You guys both can go real quick if you can. Yes.
I'll give you the mic for the.
Yeah.
I saw that in one of the initial designs, you had like a canopy over the basketball court. I was wondering if there's still an opportunity for that, or some other shading device, because I feel like, especially during the summer, like people.
Yes.
I don't know, the heat is oppressive, so it's
for real. Yeah, I mean, I'm looking at the reason why that existing art building, great question, why that's dashed, is that's also going to come down. That's going to be like our only shade refuge. I'm the same. The older I get, I can't stand the sun for some reason. So, probably be like 7 p.m. before you can get shade from that building. So I think a shelter is important, but I think that Nick will be launching kind of like the open call. Like there's gonna be some like events and programming for fundraising, and there's gonna be opportunities. Like I would love it if we got some sort of shelter. It could be a simple like canvas sail or something that you can post up under. But yeah, we need that for sure.
Yeah, it's pretty much like we're using the 300K. We're working with Walker Macy. We had to get like surveys for the site from like KPFF, like 2 different surveys to like see everything in the ground. Like just be transparent with everybody. It's like all the money has gone to that, to Walker Macy and KPFF like surveys so far, and then we're gonna do the permitting fees. But that hopefully, and then working with Joey at Concrete Collective, hopefully that will cover the whole 300K like that we have. So we're really trying to do this, and people are donating their time and things like that too.
Yeah, and I want to clarify, not all the money went to. So a small portion of the money went to like the design. Like there's just a lot of time that goes into the design, the permitting fees. The vast majority of the budget is going to construction. Shout out to Joey at Collective Concrete, because he's like, everyone's like donating. Like, you know, it's like that's the way these things work, right? And so, but there's, I think, like we will get a baseline condition with our current budget that will like provide the surfacing and like the seat steps and all that kind of stuff. But through the fundraising efforts, I think there's like bells and whistles like this. Like one thing we were talking about, it's like that, what are the ledges that are going to get skated the most? Those bottom 2 ledges, if we can get those capped in granite, like if those can be marble stone ledges, the like extra paint for the artwork, to Spencer's point, the basketball hoop, like maybe doing some landscaping improvements, like just simple things like that are where we can start to create partnerships with people like donors and small grants to just like boost it up a notch, get the shade structure in. That could be, you know, whatever, the Nike shade structure. Let's go, whatever.
Yeah, and I really think it'll be like the courts, where it'll hopefully grow over time. We'll really see like, it's like we'll start with a few obstacles, maybe change some stuff out, like update things, maybe work with some other partners to build stuff, but really keep that simplicity and really just like, really like, this is a community space, like, oh, like we want to cover, how can we work together to get a cover? Like, you know, this is our space, this isn't my space, this isn't Taj's space, this isn't PSU space. They're really trusting us as a community to activate this, just like the courts. If you want to do a pop-up, do a pop-up. If you want to have an event, have an event. It's like, just like that. It's like, you don't need to ask anybody, and you just need to ask the court so we can promote it. Like, you know, it's like those kind of things. Like we have resources at PSU to do it. It's like PSU is a partner in this too. It's really cool. Like, just like you said, like, getting people, like Aaron was saying, like pretty much getting like through the DIY. It's like through us doing the DIY attitude at PSU, now they trust us so much to give us a space that's worth like millions of dollars for many years. So it's like, I agree. We just need to keep changing opinions and show that skateboarders are people, you know, they're your friends, are not a scary person. But that's how it was at PSU. The first meetings, they were not like for the courts, and now people here understand what it means. Like people in the big office building at PSU know what the courts is now. At first they did not know, and they were like, oh, it's a nuisance. Now they're like, oh, I really appreciate that, what's going on? So I think that people are really starting to understand now. It's a really pinnacle point that we can keep moving on with the city and other things. But I agree, it takes all of us to keep having these conversations and talk about the awesome things that all of us are doing.
I think it's also, this is actually an important part of this project, is that it's being called a temporary project. Prosper Portland has plans to develop this whole parcel after the art building comes down into housing. We need more housing downtown, so that's great. But keep in mind, it's like we're nimble individuals as skateboarders. Our spaces come and go. So it's kind of like a 5-year plan. We know how development works. 5 years could turn into 10 years. Also, another important piece is the surfacing. It's not going to be concrete, but like all these details matter. It's going to be asphalt, but the vision is like really buttery LA schoolyard, fine grain asphalt surface. It's like, again, it always comes back to the flat ground. So while we don't have a budget for granite tiles through the flat ground, but I think like a really good smooth asphalt surface. Think of Lincoln High School if you ever skated there. So all these things are coming into play, but we're excited to work with Collective Concrete to make sure that like the key kind of design decisions are made appropriately. I would love another question from Mike. What's up?
It's really simple. It's just, how can we help? What is the thing that everybody hears?
You're doing it right now. You're here, man. Yeah, I think, really, like, Nick is the maestro, and, like, I think you're going to be hearing from him soon as far as, like, there's going to be a lot of social media blasts and all this stuff as it comes to life. Again, like, we just submitted for development permit. Yeah. You never know what's going to happen with the city of Portland, the bureaucrats. Again, it blows my mind when we have a project that's so simple, but this is going to go through all the bureaus for review. We feel like we've crossed our T's, dotted our I's. We got a blessing from urban forestry. We get, like, the bureaus that are perceived as, like, the problem barriers for these types of projects. We've already talked to them. They're supportive of the project. We, in good faith, feel confident enough to like release this announcement now. But hopefully in the next month or so, like we'll start hearing back, get our button it up with the different bureaus, get the approvals. And then I think like that's when, the fundraising should probably start sooner rather than later, but there'll be plenty of opportunities to come together as we did with Courts 1.0.
Thank you guys. And I love you.
Love you, man. Sheesh.